Hello there. Thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson and I'll be taking you through the pages today. First up, Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information implores us to break the silence against child abuse. Then, we discuss corporal punishment and later, tips on how you and I can protect children with special needs. Stay with us. The magazine unfolds right now.
Labor Day 2016. For health's sake, keep it clean. Join the cleanup efforts in your community on Labor Day and help to keep the mosquitoes away. Over 1 million people die each year from mosquito-borne diseases worldwide. So destroy all mosquitoes in the gullies, drains, and around your homes. Let's clean up our public spaces and beautify our environment. Register your projects now. Call 978-7654 or email laborday@mcges.gov.jm.
Keep it clean.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chizom and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, May 11. Government has placed a stop order on the construction project at the Blue Diamond Royalton Negril. The order, which was issued by the Hanover Parish Council, will be in force for an initial 30 days, after which the status of the project will be reviewed. The decision was made yesterday evening after a section of the hotel which is under construction collapsed, injuring several workers. The Minister with portfolio responsibility for development approvals and the enforcement of construction standards, Desmond McKenzie, says he is now in possession of a preliminary report into the incident prepared by the Hanover Parish Council.
If I go by the interim report that we got from the Hanover Parish Council, then there is serious cause for concerns. There is vagrant violation of the building approval that was granted. There are also environmental concerns as it relates to what is on the ground. I can only, and I'm only prepared to say, that I have extended the investigation not just to the location in Hanover, but to the other location in Trelawney.
The three-member committee set up by the Minister will use the preliminary report as its initial point of reference to investigate the full circumstances surrounding the building collapse. They have 7 days to investigate and produce a report to the Minister. In the meantime, Tourism Ministry officials had an emergency meeting with the owners of Royalton Negril this morning to assess the incident. The meeting was called by Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett, who is overseas on official business. He is to be briefed on the outcome of the discussions, which follows yesterday's visit to the site by a high-level team from the ministry. This morning's meeting involved the main contractor and the subcontractor, whose team was carrying out work on the site when the incident occurred. Hotel representatives have indicated that based on the staff listing, all personnel who should have been on the site have been accounted for. The injured workers have since received medical attention. None of the injuries were considered life-threatening. In other news, government has no intention of changing the primary focus of the National Housing Trust NHT. That assurance comes from the Minister with portfolio responsibility for housing, Dr. Horace Chang, who was speaking on JIS TV's Issues and Answers program. He was responding to public statements that the administration may dip into the NHT's coffers to finance the 2016-2017 budget. Dr. Chang insisted that the trust would be strengthened to continue providing affordable housing solutions for more Jamaicans.
The Prime Minister, who controls the National Housing Trust, intends to have it focus heavily on financing housing and not having it distracted by any other kind of activity.
Among a suite of plans for the sector are reducing transaction costs and updating critical pieces of legislation, such as the Real Estate and Rent Acts. The Housing Minister added that the administration was also looking to modernize the technology used in construction and re-establish the indigent housing program. Part 2 of the interview with Minister Chang will be aired this Sunday on this station. School administrators have been advised that voluntary contributions from parents and other stakeholders for the development of their institutions will be accommodated under the government's new tuition fee policy. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid made the disclosure on Friday at a press briefing.
We are not saying that parents will not be asked to make contribution. We are saying there ought not to be any mandatory fees. And we are strongly reinforcing and encouraging parents who have the ability to make contribution to contribute to the enhancement of your school. We will certainly ask parents, PTAs, to network with the Alumni Association and Corporate Jamaica to help fund the additional programs in our schools.
The new tuition policy comes into effect at the start of the 2016-2017 academic year in September. The University of the West Indies Mona campus has broken ground for the region's first net zero energy building. The construction of the Institute for Sustainable Development will accommodate the installation of renewable energy as the facility's sole energy solution. Addressing Tuesday's groundbreaking ceremony, Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley said the building supported government strategy to revolutionize energy supply and consumption habits.
We believe that the adaptation and implementation of net zero buildings will go a far way in reducing carbon footprint, ensuring future utility cost savings, improving daylighting with less glare, increasing worker productivity and comfort among many other things.
Based on our baseline data, this building will save approximately 50,000 kilowatt hours per year, which translate to reduction of emission of 34.5 metric tons of carbon dioxide.
The net zero energy building will be used to conduct research and develop practical working solutions that will transform building policies and practices. Construction should be completed by December of this year. And finally, Finance Minister Audley Shaw will open the budget debate in Parliament tomorrow, May 12. Parliament is scheduled to begin at 2 o'clock and the Finance Minister should deliver his presentation shortly after. Mr. Shaw will announce more details on how government plans to fund the $580 billion budget and will also outline other issues surrounding government's fiscal policy and the plans to grow the economy. The opening of the budget debate will follow a brief sitting of the Standing Finance Committee of Parliament at 1 o'clock. The budget debate will also feature presentations from the opposition spokesperson on finance, the leader of the opposition, and Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Minister Shaw will close the debate on May 25. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
Preparing for CSEC exams? Visit ELJAM's virtual learning environment for free study notes, videos, and quizzes in 11 subjects. www.elearnjavle.org.
Students ages 10 to 15 years with a passion for advocacy and volunteerism. Here is a chance to speak out against child abuse while representing your parish by becoming a child ambassador for the Office of the Children's Registry. Your tenure will run from 2016 to 2018.
Once you have good recommendations from your institution in terms of your behavior, your involvement in school, and even if you're not involved within school but you really want to participate in helping to bring awareness to your own peers about child abuse, then you can submit an application.
Submit applications to ambassadors at ocr.gov.jm or contact the Office of the Children's Registry. Applications close May 15.
Children are our future. We hear that adage time and time again. But do we really treat them like they are the future? Do we protect them like we should? If we don't start doing that today, our future will be a daunting and dismal one. Listen now as State Minister of Education, Youth and Culture, Floyd Green, reminds us of the importance of speaking up and speaking out.
We must all recognize that one of the biggest challenges we have is a culture of silence. We have a subculture that supports those who do not inform, an anti-informer culture that pervades our entire society that we must break down. And the only way we can break it down is to frankly face it, to admit it, and to recognize that even with the high incidence of abuse, there are so many that are going unreported. As a ministry, we have launched a campaign called Break the Silence, and this new government has committed that we will strengthen that campaign because we have to change that culture. No longer is it somebody else's business. These are our children, and we want, as a society, we take every child as our child. We have also spoken to the CDA about strengthening our team of psychologists and psychiatrists, ensuring that when victims come to report, that support services are on hand to start that process of healing. We already know that from a government perspective, there are some legislative changes which we need to fast track and to ensure that we're sending an unequivocal signal that abuse will not be tolerated. It is a long road to travel, but we are committed to travel that road.
I am your child.
I am your child.
I am your child.
I am your child.
No child is just your child.
No child is just my child.
Every child is Jamaica's future.
Every youth coming like Amaya.
We must do better.
They are all our children.
I am your child.
What are your views on corporal punishment? Do you know what it is? If not, don't worry. Our next feature will give you important details on this very controversial issue.
I say be careful what you teach your little children. Make sure I know something to hurt them. Mind what you saying to my sister. She could be the next prime minister. I say if you watch what you saying to me daughter, cause in the long run she could be your doctor.
Should you beat them? Should you not beat them? Beating versus beat up.
This year, we are on a journey towards helping parents with effective parenting. We are here to support parents through education, through making you more aware, through research, resources. We're bringing to you our first in a series of community forums dubbed Disciplining a Child in an Age-Appropriate Way. Why? We've been getting a lot of calls from parents saying that their children are just driving them crazy. They just don't know what to do. What we want to do is empower you so that you can go back to your communities and pass on the message.
Coming from a scriptural perspective, and I want to use one of the most provocative texts that I think many persons misunderstand. And that is Proverbs chapter 13:24. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. The rod has been mistaken many times. I do believe and I do share that, yes, a child can be spanked, but it must be properly done. It must be done out of love and not through anger. If a parent is angry, I don't think at any time the child should be touched. The child must be disciplined with love.
What the research, Jamaican research says is that children who are beaten are also more likely to be very aggressive. Now, at UNICEF, we don't subscribe to the beating or beat up philosophy. We don't think there is a choice. We think discipline should be about developing the child. And the research suggests that physical punishment, including beating, don't help in that regard.
My mother never understood what it was to have a light hand. You know that like what them say, oh, drive a foot, them heavy on the pedal. Why? She floor it. And so, my siblings and I experienced abuse at the highest levels. Whether it was from the knife, from teeth in Akita the pot, and then she push her hand in there and say enough teeth, which I thought were common mischief that any child would commit. My mother died when I was 9. My brother a year before. Brother was bad man and thing, and we go crush her ends and him get shot. 3 shots, and he died in front of me. And so, as a child, I'd experienced so much hurt. Not just from the physical pain, but the emotional hurt as well. After my mother died, I was living on the street for about a year and a half. But I can say right now that because of the Child Development Agency, I'm able to stand where I am without being incarcerated or dead right now. And so life took a turn for the better. So push your children, encourage your children, love your children.
If you need to make a report, you hear that a child has been, is being, or is likely to be abused sexually, physically, emotionally, or is in need of care and protection, you may call the Office of the Children's Advocate, or you can call the OCR at 1-888-PROTECT, and they will ensure that the matter is passed on to the relevant agency for investigation.
Right now, if my child do something bad, I'm gonna beat her. So are you saying not to hit her? Because I'm not saying, I say it's discipline, you know, because being honest, it feels like a cultural thing. Once you're rude, you get beaten.
You do not need to hit your child. I would wonder why you need to hit her. You're about 8 times her body weight. If a man 8 times your body weight hits you, what would you do? If you teach your child to receive blows from you, you're teaching your child to receive blows from anyone.
I would like to know how you go about teenagers who are in school smoking and hard drugs and those things. How you go about
Behavior?
how you go about schooling those?
The first thing to do is get that child to a counselor, because there's a reason why they would have started abusing drugs. There's always a reason, either through peer pressure or access, or it's a family thing.
A counselor. In this society, almost everything costs money. Enough parents don't have it.
All right, there are some free clinics around, I can tell you about them. There is the Child Guidance Clinic, and there are many child guidance clinics all over the island. Many of them are actually attached to the hospital.
Sometimes it involves taking them to this police station and let the police give them a verbal warning, let them know that you are serious. So what they
Simple
must
things
do,
like
yes.
like timeout, right? Where
What
they
is
have
that?
they have to go if a child is 2 years old and has done something which is not within the rules of the household, that child is asked to stand in a corner, sit in a special chair, go to a place for usually it's a number of minutes related to the age of the child. So a 2-year-old, 2 minutes quiet time, no talking, nothing.
What we want you to recognize is that you don't need to slap the child at all. What we want you to do is create a disciplinary structure around the child from that child is at infant stage, so that that disciplinary structure grows with your child.
I say be careful what you teach your little children. Make sure I know something to hurt them.
A new government has been formed. Hear their plans as each minister shares their vision. Watch Issues and Answers this and every Sunday on this station to hear members of the cabinet talk about their portfolios and projections. That's Issues and Answers this and every Sunday for your one-on-one time with the ministers.
All children, especially those with special needs, must be treated equally and with respect. Listen carefully as the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities share tips on how we can do just that.
Safeguarding children with disabilities is very important. More so, although all children are vulnerable, but children with disabilities tend to be a little bit more vulnerable because there are sometimes some of them cannot take care of themselves. And so when we think of safeguarding children with disabilities, we have to think of the different disability groups because there are some who can manage more than others. For persons who are deaf, children who are deaf, you have to ensure that they get the information about being safe, whether safe on the roads or safe from strangers or safe from persons who would harm them. So giving them the information in a language that they can understand. And for us in Jamaica, it's through the Jamaican Sign Language. For persons with intellectual disabilities, it is taking care to explain over and over again in simple language the different types of dangers that they might face. It is teaching them how to be safe on the roads, how to be safe at home, at school, wherever they are. And for these children, they will need sometimes practical examples of what to do. And so for them it is not just telling, but it is also showing. It is very, very important for the child who is blind that they can listen and they can understand readily, but they cannot see, and so they need to be introduced, to the physical feel of things, to know, so that they can be aware of their surroundings. They need to be taught to be more aware of their surroundings, because sometimes it is not about what you can see or feel, but it is just having that sixth sense. The Child Development Agency covers all children. However, there is a Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, the Combined Disabilities Association, the Jamaica Association for the Deaf, the Jamaican Association on Intellectual Disabilities, the Jamaica Autism Support Association that is there, to help parents and caregivers. It is for the general public to look out for persons with disabilities. Look out for them in the bus stations, at the bus center, for areas, parishes that have bus centers. Do not abuse them. Do not shove them aside. Do not, when you're entering the bus and everybody is pushing and shoving, look out for them to ensure that they get on the bus so that they too can get home, if that is their means of transportation. Persons really have to look out. Don't take away their lunch money. Don't spit on them. Don't disregard them. They're another human being seeking an education, seeking to go about their business like any other legitimate child. And so they should be allowed to grow up. They should be allowed to become all that they can be, so that later on we do not have to be seeing them begging on the streets, or they're cast aside and society has to take care of them, because it will cost us more.
Well, I dare to make a difference, and I dare to take a stand. Let me dare to think of someone else who's in need of a helping hand.
The Office of the Children's Advocate is very aware that we have some parents who get particularly anxious at the start of a new school year. And so we really just wanted to share with you a few tips that you can utilize to help keep your children, especially the very young ones who are going out for the first time, nice and safe from sexual abuse. Parents need to recognize that the private parts, as we call them, or the genitalia, are regular parts of the body. And so in teaching your children about the forehead and the nose and the hand, You can also teach them the names of these body parts, because that does two things. It puts them in a position to speak about these parts when something is going wrong, and it also tells them that even though they're private parts, it's not too private to talk about, particularly with a parent. Children need to know that there should be no secrets between them and their parents or guardians. Oftentimes, when persons want to abuse children, they tend to encourage them to keep a little secret. You know, this is between me and you. But from very early, parents need to establish with their children that the lines of communication are open. Mommy and daddy, or auntie and uncle, or whoever is the responsible adult in that child's life, can actually have a discussion, age appropriate of course, about anything at all that may be troubling the child. The third tip is that parents need to cultivate throughout the child's lifespan that environment whereby the child feels comfortable to speak. Conversation should not be off limit, topics should not be taboo, and you really need to get to a stage whereby you have teachable moments, we call them. So we see a lot of things reported in the newspapers, sometimes on the nightly news, and we can use some of these instances of horrible things that are happening to other children to start little discussions with our own children to give them tips as to how they can avoid or prevent, perhaps completely, any such reality happening to them. For these tips, and of course any other information that deals with children, that is anyone under 18 years, please feel free to contact the Office of the Children's Advocate. We're at 72 Harbour Street, downtown Kingston, and our numbers are 948-1134, or website www.oca.gov.jm.
Well, I dare to make a difference, and I dare to take a stand. Let me dare you to think of someone else who's in need of a helping hand.
Tony Han-Fisher discusses the importance of spending more time with parents. Over to you, Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony, and I have been thinking, do we really spend enough time with our mommy and daddy? Be honest. I don't think we do, and we should. When we spend time with our parents, they get to know about us, what we like and don't like, and we get to understand them more. My parents and I have a great relationship. I'm not showing off, I'm just saying. We do fun things at home all the time, and when we go out, it's amazing. We go to the beach, church, all over the place. That could be you too. If you want to spend more time with your parents, you need to put away the tablets every now and then. Stop watching TV for the entire day and put away the phone sometimes. Instead of doing all that, why not help that cook one day or just talk to mom about her day? I'm just saying, it's not hard. I spend lots of time with my parents and it's fun. Try spending time with your parents today. You'll be glad you did. Pinky promise.
We've come to the end of today's magazine, but another informative show comes your way tomorrow. In the meantime, feel free to share your feedback and comments by emailing us at jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Follow us on Twitter at JIS News or visit our website, jis.gov.jm. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Remember, do your part and help a child today.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.